There is actually a new stimulus relief program that is approved. About $500 stimulus checks available for many people are available right now for you. Joe Manchin has just shared a new list of changes that he would like to see made on President Biden's Build Back Better package. So you want to watch until the end of the video to see if you're eligible for this fourth stimulus check. We have a ton of good news about the fourth stimulus payment, so you definitely don't want to miss out on it. Over 500,000 Massachusetts low-income residents dealt with some of the financial blows as the onset of the crisis continued. But the good news, everybody, is that many residents of Massachusetts should start receiving $500 payments from the Baker administration within the next week. The $500 payments comprising the first phase of the $460 million crisis essential employee premium pay program are funded through federal stimulus crisis relief funds. Checks will be mailed automatically to eligible individuals, whether regardless of what type of industry you work in or business you work for. And no type of application or action is needed on behalf of Massachusetts essential workers themselves. The Baker administration is actually based eligibility on a broad set of criteria, starting with whether residents filed their 2020 tax returns. People must have also been Massachusetts residents in 2020 or part residents in a Commonwealth between March 10th and 2020. Between March and December 31st, 2020, the governor said, I am pleased to sign the Crisis Essential Employee Premium Program into law. And our administration has worked quickly to design the parameters for the program with plans to efficiently begin distribution of these payments. This program will support these workers who served our communities, especially in the early days of the crisis. Now, income is also a major eligibility factor for the $500 payments. Residents slated to receive checks will have earned at least $12,750 in employment compensation in 2020, with their total household income at or below 33% of the federal poverty level in 2020. According to Governor Baker's administration, married filers can each be eligible, provided each independently qualifies. The governor has also said unemployment compensation in 2019 or 2021 does not affect eligibility for a round one check, so long as you are otherwise eligible based on residency and income. State executive branch employees are also disqualified from the program's first round if they have already received or will receive a one-time check from the Commonwealth. The program still has millions of dollars to dole out to essential workers. It's great to see that more state governments are distributing their own state relief checks. But is your state doing this too? Tell me in the comments. I believe that all states should do the same and give their residents stimulus checks. Manchin told reporters this week that there are major social changes that should go through a process. And that's what the process of the Build Back Better legislation is for. Manchin wants any social policy changes to attract Republican support and reach 60 votes in the Senate to overcome a filibuster. Democrats only have 50 votes in the upper chamber, with Republicans in reviving components of President Biden's agenda. He has kept the door open for now on a reconciliation bill that includes slashing the deficit, cutting prices on prescriptions, and rolling back the 2017 GOP tax cuts.
Republicans make about deficits. It didn't happen a single quarter under my predecessor. Not once. The bottom line is the deficit went up every year under my predecessor, before the pandemic and during the pandemic. And it's gone down both years since I've been here. Period. They're the facts. Why is it important? Because bringing down the deficit is one way to ease inflationary pressures in an economy where a consequence of a war and gas prices and oil and food and it's a different world right at this moment because of Ukraine and Russia. We reduced federal borrowing and we help combat inflation. This process is a great deal good news, but it didn't happen by itself. The previous administration increased the deficit every year it was in office, in part because of its reckless $2 trillion tax cut. I know you're tired of hearing me saying that, but a $2 trillion tax cut that was not paid for. And a tax cut that largely benefited the biggest corporations, 55 of which earned $40 billion in profit and paid not a single penny in income tax in 2020. And wealthiest Americans, like the billionaires, who on average pay just 8% in federal taxes. The previous administration not only ballooned the deficit, it undermined the watchdogs, the inspector generals, whose job it was to keep the pandemic relief funds from being wasted. Remember, at the time, I kept saying they're going to fire the inspector generals. Well, they fired the inspector general. And in my administration, those watchdogs are back. The Justice Department has a chief prosecutor for pandemic fraud who's going to go after the criminals who stole billions in relief money meant for small businesses and American families, but never got to them, got in the pockets of criminals. When I came to office, we took a different approach across the board. With the American Rescue Plan and other actions, we started to grow the economy from the bottom up and the middle out. Rescue checks and tax cuts for working families that gave them just a little bit of breathing room and put food on the table and a roof over their heads. Remember the first year, all those long lines of automobiles lined up and going through a parking lot just to get a box of food in their trunk? We got vaccination shots in arms that helped us go from 2 million Americans who've been vaccinated to more than 220 million Americans fully vaccinated. We made it easy for millions of Americans to sign up for coverage under the Affordable Care Act, saving them an average of $2,400 a year. As a result of these and other economic recovery plans, we recovered faster than projected. A record 6.7 million jobs created last year, the most in the first year of any president in American history, and the fastest economic growth in any year in nearly 4 decades. And looking ahead, I have a plan to reduce the deficit even more, which will help reduce inflationary pressures and lower everyone's costs for families. Look, it's a plan that lets Medicare negotiate prices of prescription drugs, as they do with the Department of Veterans Affairs. You can cap the price of insulin at $35 instead of hundreds of dollars, even $1,000 a month for some families. And my plan provides tax credits to utility companies to generate clean energy. And those companies are required to pass those savings.
Yes, it is finally happening. Congress is passing a new stimulus bill very soon. Joe Manchin is now meeting with Republican lawmakers to gain their support on President Biden's spending bill. Now, many people will be receiving an $800 stimulus check very soon, so you want to continue watching this video to never miss out on the very important stimulus check information, and we have a ton of good news to cover. So the majority of people in Colorado are eligible to receive $400 to $800 stimulus checks from the state government due to the Taxpayer Bill of Rights passed in 1992. Most full-time residents have already taken in the necessary steps to get their check mailed to them this summer, filing their 2021 state income tax return. Any full-time resident who hasn't been filed can still claim and ensure they get a check by filing out a submitting form by May 31st. However, a lot of residents, including many veterans and seniors, do not regularly file state income tax returns, and they have questions regarding their eligibility. Folks, the answer is yes. You are still eligible to receive the $400 check for single filers and $800 for joint filers if you are a full-time resident. According to Colorado Governor Jared Polis, there are additional benefits to filing state and federal income tax returns, even if the taxpayer owes little to nothing. He said filing a return ensures that any excess withholding tax is refunded, and they may also be eligible for valuable refundable state and federal credits, like the Earned Income Credit and the Child Tax Credit. This is the same requirement for people in Colorado who claim and receive payments for the 6-tier flat sales tax refund mechanism